That morning, Emma walked into the lobby of Aldertech, a prestigious tech firm in downtown Chicago, wearing an old sweater and carrying a worn-out cleaning kit. A young receptionist raised an eyebrow and pointed coldly. "Tech floor's on 8, but people like you aren't allowed near the demo today. Big investors are here." Emma nodded silently. She didn't argue. She just kept walking, not out of defiance, but because she knew something no one else did. Today mattered. She had to be there. 30 minutes later, Aldertech's entire automation system crashed. Screens went dark. Data was locked. Access denied across the board. What was supposed to be a billion-dollar showcase had just turned into a full-blown tech disaster. She didn't belong. At least, that's what everyone thought. Emma stood quietly near the back wall of the tech floor, clutching her cleaning kit like a shield. The room was packed with suits and heels, tablets flashing investor data, nervous assistants whispering updates. It smelled like lemon polish and pressure. She'd only taken one step closer when someone noticed her. "Hey, janitor's not supposed to be up here," barked a man with perfect hair and an expensive watch. His voice cut through the tension like a razor. Another one laughed, holding up his phone. "Better make sure she's not the one who unplugged the servers." More laughter. It wasn't kind. Emma didn't flinch. She'd been through worse, but inside it still stung. Not the insult. Those were nothing new, but the familiarity of it. Of being overlooked. Dismissed. She turned to leave, ready to disappear the way she always did. But then someone hit the emergency override, and nothing happened. The system stayed frozen. The screen stayed black. A cold silence fell over the room, then panic. "We're losing visibility on the investor feed. Remote access is locked too. Was this an internal breach? No idea. We can't trace it." The CTO, a tall man with graying hair and a clenched jaw, slammed his palm against the desk. "We've got a room full of engineers and no one can fix this?" he snapped. Someone near the windows muttered, "We're going to get buried. This was supposed to land us a $400 million contract." That's when Emma heard it again, something she recognized. Not the words, but the pattern beneath them. The failure wasn't random. The system wasn't crashing, it was defending itself. Someone had buried a recursive lockout, a trap designed to make every recovery attempt fail, and suddenly she knew. She took a small step forward and, in a calm voice, said the words that changed everything. "Did anyone check for a socket overflow loop?" It was like tossing a pebble into a still pond. Silence. Then laughter. Real cruel laughter. "Is she serious?" one of them scoffed. "Oh, sure, the janitor's got it all figured out." "Maybe she should run IT," another said, shaking his head. Emma's cheeks burned, but she stood her ground. She wasn't guessing. She knew what she saw. That's when a younger voice spoke up, from the back corner. She might be right. It was the intern, Aiden. Quiet, always watching. Everyone turned to him. He shrugged. "It's the only theory that fits the failure pattern. No one else has anything better." The room shifted, just a little. The laughter faded. No one smiled now. Emma wasn't laughing either. She was waiting, watching the system like it was a puzzle only she could hear ticking. And for the first time since the chaos began, someone handed her a keyboard. She didn't gloat, didn't explain herself. She just started typing. No one believed in her. Not yet. But that was about to change. And if you're still listening, if you're still here, quietly rooting for her like I am, comment the number 1 below. Let me know you haven't looked away. Because Emma's story, it's just getting started. The keyboard was too high. Emma had to stand on a chair just to reach it properly. No one helped. No one gave her instructions. They didn't expect anything real to come of it, just wanted to be able to say they tried everything, even letting the janitor take a swing at the system. But she didn't care why they let her in. She cared that the system was broken, and she could hear it. It wasn't the kind of thing you'd hear with ears. It was something else, like standing in front of an old radio that no one could tune, but somehow You knew where to twist the dial. Her fingers hovered over the keys for a second, calibrating. Then, without hesitation, she began. No rush, no theatrics, just quiet, focused keystrokes. Every line she typed came from a place that wasn't taught in a classroom. It was learned in silence, long nights with a second-hand laptop, bootleg forums, and trial and error under a single flickering bulb. The engineers stood back. A few whispered. The CTO muttered to someone, "This is absurd." But no one dared interrupt her now, because things were happening. The first command line blinked. A frozen diagnostic tool twitched. Then, an admin shell Emma wasn't supposed to have access to, opened. Just like that. Aiden's eyes widened. "She's inside," he whispered. She bypassed the lockdown. The room fell completely still. She kept going. Layer after layer, Emma peeled back the breach. The code was dense, twisted, a kind of digital trap that mimicked normal system behavior so perfectly, even top-level diagnostics had failed to detect it. But she saw through it. Because whoever built this had done it with care, with obsession. It wasn't just sabotage. It was art, symmetrical, cold, calculated, and strangely familiar. Then it hit her. She had seen this kind of structure before. Not this exact code, but the rhythm of it, the logic behind the trap. It mirrored something she had found once, deep in an anonymous online forum years ago. Back when she still believed maybe, just maybe, she could be a part of this world. The post had no replies, just a line of cryptic code and a message. It's not about breaking the system. It's about becoming the door. She'd copied that line into her notebook. And now, here it was again, only evolved, sharper, more dangerous. Someone had taken that same philosophy and used it to build a backdoor into Aldertech's most secure framework. And that's when Emma knew. This wasn't just a system breach. It was personal. Not against the company, against the world that didn't see people like her. The realization made her fingers tremble, not with fear but with recognition. Whoever had done this, they were like her. A ghost in the system, self-taught, unseen, someone who had stared into the locked gates of big tech and decided to burn them down. But Emma had chosen a different path. She could have vanished too. She almost had. But something inside her had held on, not to prove them wrong, but to prove herself right. She exhaled slowly and pushed deeper into the system, ignoring the murmurs behind her, tuning out the disbelief. The code opened to her like it had been waiting for someone who spoke its language. She found the breach point. A recursive loop nested inside a loop, disguised to look like a failed patch. Elegant, dangerous, fragile. Emma didn't hesitate. She wrote her own code. Clean, quiet, simple. It slipped in like a thread through a needle, reversing the loop from the inside out. No brute force, no fireworks, just understanding. And then, one of the main monitors blinked to life, not fully, just a flicker, a green line crawling slowly across the bottom. Heartbeat detected, system integrity recovering. Everyone stared. Emma stepped back from the keyboard. Her heart was pounding, but her face remained calm. She had done it, not because they asked, not because they believed, but because she believed. And for the first time in years, someone else saw her not as the janitor, not even as the genius, but as the answer. The room was dead quiet. Not the kind of quiet that follows a mistake. The kind that follows a miracle. Emma stood still beside the terminal, one hand still resting on the desk, her other clutching her notebook to her chest. She didn't smile, didn't gloat, just breathed. The line on the monitor was now steady. The system was coming back slowly but undeniably. A few engineers leaned closer, still in disbelief, as logs began to appear. Clean logs. Verified. Uncorrupted. She did it, someone whispered. But no one moved. No one congratulated her. Not yet. Because Marcus Vale had just entered the room. The CEO of Aldertech. He walked in like a man who already knew everything. Calm, unreadable, His gaze cutting through the glass like a scalpel. He said nothing. Just stood there, arms folded, staring at the girl in the oversized hoodie who had brought his empire back from the edge of disaster. Someone tried to speak, but Marcus raised a hand. He stepped forward, slowly, until he stood a few feet from Emma. She didn't flinch. She didn't even look at him. Not out of disrespect, but because she was still inside the system, mentally. It took another 10 seconds before she finally stepped back and whispered, "It's stable now." Marcus looked at the screen, then back at her. "Who are you?" Emma glanced at him, finally, and answered with nothing but the truth. "No one you were supposed to notice." The words landed like a stone in a still lake. For a long time, Marcus said nothing. Then he turned to the lead engineer. "You mocked her." The engineer froze. "She warned you," Marcus continued, his voice still low but sharp. "You laughed." The man opened his mouth, but Marcus had already turned away. "Effective immediately," he said to the room. "He's out. I want a full review of our hiring practices and internal culture by end of week." No one argued. The same people who'd looked at Emma like a joke now couldn't meet her eyes. Later that day, Aldertech's official channels released a statement. "Today, Aldertech was saved not by credentials, not by rank, but by brilliance we nearly overlooked. We will never make that mistake again." Emma was offered a position, a corner in the lab, full access, no test, no interview, just trust. But she asked for something else, not a title, not a raise, a scholarship. For girls like her, girls who fixed broken things in silence, girls who didn't wait for permission to be brilliant. Marcus agreed without hesitation, and the man who almost had her escorted out signed her name into Aldertech history. Not with a plaque, not with a press release, but with a firewall. A new one, written from the ground up. He named it EM01, not after a product. After a girl with a mop bucket, who rewired the future. Emma never asked for the spotlight. She didn't storm in with a title or a degree. She walked in with a mop, a notebook, and a mind the world kept overlooking. And yet, she changed everything. This story isn't just about a system crash or a tech rescue. It's about how brilliance often wears quiet shoes, about how the people we ignore might be the ones who save us. Emma reminds us that real power doesn't shout. It listens, learns, and when the time comes, it speaks in actions. So if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever been told you don't belong, remember her. Keep building. Keep breaking things to see what's inside. Because sometimes the world doesn't need another loud voice. It needs someone who sees what no one else does. And if Emma's story stayed with you, even just a little, leave a comment. Let us know you're still here, still believing. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Not for us, but for the next Emma out there who just needs someone to see her.